Yeah. And I think that's where I get is it's not that we all just disagree, or when we have these disagreements, it's not this person versus this person. It's what about their line of thinking has made them think that way.
Welcome to the Small Business Boot Camp. Please join our hosts, Jen and Megan, as today's topic is all about finding your strengths as a team and as a business. Please welcome our special guest, Kim, the controller at Kids First, as we continue this discussion.
I don't even know if we've all talked about why we're going to do the Strengths Finder 2.0, but our leadership share, a good portion of that next Tuesday is going to be just kind of reviewing what it means. And so this particular, I don't know if you'd call it a personality test, it's a Strengths Finder test, right?
Yeah.
So it helps to identify your personal strengths and then how you use those strengths in the workplace to work with, to collaborate or work with your team members. And then from there, I think that you can even work to recognize how to lead your staff, or maybe identify how your strengths work for you, but what else might be missing. So I'm
situations to put yourself into and what to avoid. And those
and to help identify, like if you were a department leader and you were doing this with some of your crew members, to help identify how that delegation component works, who is going to be best suited for certain things, how they work with other people. And I believe there are 34 different strengths on this on this Clifton Strengths Finder test that really are navigated through. You navigate through about a 30-minute questionnaire. So it's a little bit timely, but it's very, very interesting. I'm interested to see how everybody feels, whether or not it's accurate or not. And so that's what we're going to talk about right now with the three of us, right?
Yeah. So in the office, we have myself, Megan, we have Kim Tudor, our controller, and we have Jen Evans. So we are just going to kind of walk through our tests that we took and learn a little bit about each other and what our strengths say about us. And so Jen and I have shared ours with each other, and we share a couple, 2 out of the 5 on our list we share, but we have not yet heard Kim's 5 strengths. So we are going to find that out right now. And I'm just dying to know what our controller's strengths are. So Kim, do you want to share your number 1 strength from the Gallup Clifton Strengths Finder?
My number 1 strength is achiever.
Achiever. Okay. So read to us what an achiever is. What does it say as the description?
General description is people exceptionally talented in the achiever theme work hard and possess a great deal of stamina. They take immense satisfaction in being busy and productive.
Nail on the head.
Busy and productive.
Yes.
Yeah. Productivity is key, I feel like, for you.
Now, can you see where does that fall under one of the 4 categories: executing, influencing, relationship building, or strategic thinking? Do you see that on your results?
I don't.
Okay. We can find them elsewhere.
So did you know what color it was?
I do not.
I can tell you here. An achiever,
I'm guessing executing.
was purple.
Yes. That falls under executing.
Mm-hmm.
It has a little bit at the end, which kind of like really hit, which is chances are good that you have no difficulty diving into books, journals, files, correspondence, or internet sites to prepare yourself for new assignments. By nature, you are driven to gather lots of information, facts, data, or insiders' perspectives about an upcoming project.
What was that one?
That was the same.
Oh, okay. You were giving a more description. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Kim's number 1 is an achiever.
Yeah.
Okay. Love that. What's number 2?
A relator.
Ooh, that's my number 1.
Oh,
Look at us.
look at us.
That falls under relationship building.
Okay, well, people exceptionally talented in the relator theme enjoy close relationship with others. They find deep satisfaction in working hard with friends to achieve a goal.
And do you find that relates to work and personal?
I think so, because when I read a little bit more about it, I thought about how I can explain some concepts to people that may not understand accounting and kind of get to where they are in their understanding. So I kind of looked at it a little bit like that. And then there's also some talk about how this strength helps others who seek your guidance. You have close companions who frequently seek your guidance. You help them find answers to their personal and professional problems. This makes you a valuable friend. So yeah, I could see that. I can see that in my personal life and in my professional
A lot
life.
of people come to you for
Yes.
advice, and
Right.
yeah.
And I think that's what makes her a great teacher. Under what I had printed under relator is it's likely that you're determined to share your knowledge and skills with people you coach, mentor, or train. So that's typically going to be a lot of our coaches, but you in particular spend a lot of time with our department leaders teaching them about how to read a P&L or how to understand their target numbers or any of the things that maybe don't come naturally to our other employees.
Yeah, it's going to naturally be a coach or a teacher.
Yep. What was your number 3?
Learner.
Wow.
People exceptionally talented in the learner theme have a great desire to learn and want to continuously improve. The process of learning rather than the outcome excites them.
That is a definite strength.
Mm-hmm.
That was not.
I think
one
that
of
even
mine.
the fact that when you came to Kids First, you were finishing school. Like, it was important to you that you went back and finished your school and got your degree, even though it didn't matter to us.
Right.
You are, like, I think you're a lifelong learner. I think you obviously enjoy numbers, but education and teaching is important to you. So it's interesting. What's number 4?
Number 4. Responsibility. That's one we all share, right?
I do not.
Oh, you do not.
Yeah, I have responsibility. I think it's my number 3. So tell us about the responsibility.
People exceptionally talented in the responsibility theme take psychological ownership of what they say they will do. They are committed to stable values such as honesty and loyalty.
Yep. I think I said earlier with our mission being, having centered on responsibility, and that's been such a big part of our mission and our, what we talk about with young people. I would hope that we have a lot of people that have responsibility in theirs, or if our, be curious if some of our young people who maybe aren't, I don't know, I'd be curious how many have a responsibility that fall in there. Love that. And then what is...
Under responsibility, something I liked under there, it says, chances are good that you normally strive to do things right. Taking shortcuts strikes you as unprincipled, thoughtless, and careless. You likely refuse to produce sloppy work or engage in unethical practices.
Which
I thought was kind of important.
Absolutely. Yeah. As the controller and our in-house accountant, I would say that is very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You are always the voice of, I don't think we can do that. And me and Jen are more of the,
are you sure?
Are you sure? We'll always follow everything legally, but it's just sort of, can we tiptoe on that line? And Kim says yes or no, whether we should tiptoe on it.
Based on ethical
guidance.
Legal.
Yeah. Yes. Legal first. No, ethical first. Legal second.
I think we stay on the positive side of ethical. It's whether it's legal. We're like, really? That's a law? Come on. I think that's really where it stands. We're on the ethical side, but yeah. So then your 5th one?
Dun, dun, dun. Input.
We said, I'm sure you were input.
Yeah.
People exceptionally talented in the input theme have a need to collect and archive. They may accumulate information, ideas, artifacts, or even relationships.
Okay. Yeah, I had made a conjecture before she took the test that input as our accountant and numbers and data was going to be one of them. So it's not that you're top, but it definitely is in your wheelhouse.
And there's some interesting things on that one as well. Driven by your talent, you refrain from automatically believing everything you read in books, publications, correspondence, or internet sites, which I kind of chuckled about because sometimes I'll be researching something, maybe it was something about the PPP, right? Mm-hmm. And you get on a site and you can't believe that. So you go to another site and another site and another site and another site until you really get to understanding whatever that concept was or whatever the rules are or how the rules have changed over time and things like that. So I thought that was interesting.
Do you find that those strengths represent you?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so do I, 100%.
Yeah. I
Isn't it
thought it
fascinating?
pretty much nailed me.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Because I feel like this test, it did take about a half hour. And I think we'd all start it and you're just like, it's quick. You have to make a decision. It wants you to act instinctively. So it'll give you something and are you more strongly aligned with this or more strongly, would this describe you or would this describe you? And you only have like 10 seconds and then it moves on to another one. It just wants you to act quickly. And we're taking the test and it just feels like it's just taken forever. And I'm like, how is this this can't be accurate. It just can't be accurate because I feel like I'm not even in it. Like, I'm just like, I can't make these, I just can't. I don't know. I'm thinking about it and it was pretty accurate.
I think it was hard too, because sometimes you're like, well, yeah, I'm that.
And so
I'm also that.
Yeah.
So
So I would go
which one am I
neutral.
closer
I would go
to?
neutral on those because you're like, I do align with both of those.
Right.
Or I don't like either of those. I guess I'm just going to go neutral. Jen, do you want to talk about your top 5, which I think, specific to our roles, it's just so interesting.
Sure.
How Kim's, as the controller, align with her. And then we've talked about yours and how they aligned with you. It's just it's so interesting.
Yeah, my number 1 was relator, and that fell under the, I've lost that page, the relationship building. Mm-hmm. Yep. And people exceptionally talented in the relator theme enjoy close relationships with others. They find deep satisfaction in working hard with friends to achieve a goal. And I find that very accurate. I've been here for a very long time. I work with, my only friends are here. I guess that's not true. My only friends are here or have been here at one time, aside from my husband. So I would say that, here we talk a lot about Kids First being a relationship building business, and that extends to the way that we work with one another. Mm-hmm. So I found that to be very accurate. My second one, I think I shared with you, Megan, which is strategic. Were you strategic as well? No, strategic. And that one fell under strategic thinking. I wrote down, so we have a little worksheet that we're using to accompany this. This was about our communication skills, and I thought that was very accurate with both of us. A couple of things that popped out to me, the right word almost always pops into our mind or into our conversation. We have effortless language skills. I don't know if that was a summary of my words, but we transform obstacles into opportunity. Mm-hmm. And if I had to summarize the last 2 years, I would say that's how we've described our 2 years in this role during COVID as well.
We've almost I feel like we've said those words many times. This is an opportunity for us to change or move forward in a different way. And so, yeah, I think you and I both take challenges and turn them into seeing them as opportunities. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Under strategic, things like you spend time considering numerous courses of action before choosing one. You invent original and innovative techniques for dealing with expected and unexpected challenges. And I just think those are important for people in your organization who are in any kind of a leadership role. Mm-hmm. Being able to look at the big picture and assess what the outcome might be if you go down this path or maybe this path, and knowing that there may not be a single right answer, but how do you make the best decision that is going to have the most positive outcome possible? My third one was activator. Again, I took some of my own notes. It's described people exceptionally talented in the activator theme can make things happen by turning thoughts into action. They want to do things now rather than simply talk about them. Some of the attributes that I'd written down: frustrated by lack of urgency of others, and that is definitely me. I want to do it right now. Sometimes I forget there is importance or value in talking it through.
Or I have found that it's like, you're like, what is holding this process up? What is holding this up? And that frustrates you. Mm-hmm. So that one, when you said that, it was not a shock at all, because it's just something that I think in how you operate, those things bother you.
Mm-hmm. What I found interesting is with Relator, that was my first one. It's about working together with your close friends and having deep relationships. Activator, on the other hand, you're driven by your talents. You excel as a solo performer. So there's a balance, I think, that, when I think about how I do operate like that. I like to collaborate with a lot of other people. When it's time to just get something done, I like to go into a quiet room and just dig in. So
I think it's interesting how you have activator and strategic, because strategic is all about pausing and determining the best course of action. And yet activator is, you get frustrated when people aren't moving. So for you, it's like once you've made the decision,
then it's time to
full steam ahead.
Yeah.
Full steam ahead.
Yeah. Go back to the learning center. Let's do this right now. That's when we created the
in one day.
Yeah. But we had thought about it. There was planning behind it. It didn't, when something here in this office becomes clear, then it's full steam ahead. Until we have that clarity, it's kind of like
strategic.
Yeah.
Kind
of like bumper cars. We're just moving around trying to figure out which is the best course of action. And then when we've decided, it is just time to go. My fourth one was empathy, which is very much, being insightful, comprehending others' thoughts and feelings, being able to connect with other people on a different level. I know that was your number one, Megan, and I would very much say that is very descriptive of you. And I think, again, we're in that relationship building business. And when you come from a place of having worked as a teacher or a mentor or a coach, you work with children or young people, I think that it just becomes a part of who you are. I think a lot of people in the coaching industry are will likely find empathy, I would think, but maybe I'm wrong. The description on here says people exceptionally talented in the empathy theme can sense other people's feelings by imagining themselves in others' lives or situation. And it's funny because our 11th teaching principle is love, empathy, and compassion. So we use that word frequently here, especially in our teaching programs. And there's a difference between being empathetic and being sympathetic. We're not feeling sorry for someone else. We're simply putting ourselves in that position of someone else and understanding the pain or the feelings, the emotions that they might be feeling.
Being tuned in, I think.
Without
for
pity.
me,
Without pity.
I think about that for myself, and that is my number one. And I think we have described that in here as I'm a connector.
Yes.
But I think that it is just being, I am especially tuned in, I think, to, hey, I was talking to somebody and I kind of got a sense of blah, 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 blah. I think it is something that I would say is one of my strengths, but it is just, I think, part of that relationship building, the people side of our business, which we all have something that's a relator or an empathy type of thing. So we're a people business. We talk about that. We're a relationship business, not a commodity. So.
Right. An activator falls under influencing. Did I say that? Relator, sorry. Empathy falls under relationship building. Activator falls under influencing. My last one is arranger, which falls under the executing. Because of your strengths, you're impelled to deliver on all of your commitments. You're determined to meet all of your obligations. Doing so is your badge of honor. And this goes on and on, talking about being trustworthy and dependable. But really, for me, that was like maybe the glue of all of my other components, where I do feel that sense of responsibility to do what I said I was going to do, or to follow through with the things that are on my plate. And I think that's one of those components of our leadership crew that we want everyone to have. It doesn't mean that it's going to show up on our Strength Finder test, but it's something in their everyday performance here that we value. That.
Yeah, I think it comes back to that responsibility, taking ownership of what your part of that is, what your role was. And I do find that you often, whether you dropped a ball or not, which often you didn't, but you ask yourself that, like, did I cause that? Did I drop that ball? Did I do something? Was I responsible for something I didn't do? I feel like you come back to that a lot, and oftentimes it isn't, but that's that inner sense of responsibility that we have of owning that task and making sure that we said we did what we were going to do.
I was reading that there's this very long paragraph that each of these strengths has that you can find when you're on the website. But I've been here for a very long time, and much of my leadership has been aligned with Jeff's. I would say he was my mentor. And the last portion of this description says, chances are good that you've been most productive in the past when someone in authority really took an interest in you. You probably can name these individuals and describe how they helped you recognize your talents. You are likely to recall instances when they created opportunities for you to use your talents, knowledge, and skills. Often these individuals played the role of a teacher, coach, or mentor, even when that was not their official title. And that encapsulates my time here at Kids First with Jeff. I thought that,
That's cool.
I hope that, I hope that all of us can be that to somebody here. So very, very interesting. I was a little skeptical because these things are always just a little odd to take. It is a little time consuming and there's a lot of information to sift through, but I'm interested to go back and read some more about it. How about you? Let's talk about yours.
Well, we've talked about a few of them because we've shared them. So my number one strength, as Jen mentioned, was empathy. And I do think it just goes to, I think I'm very tuned into people and their emotions and what's going on. And I like to know what makes people tick and how to help better influence them or how to better support them. And so that one, Jen and I have talked about the word empath, I think is such a buzzword, and I wouldn't consider myself an empath. So when empathy popped up, I was kind of like, But when you read what it says, it definitely feels like it is me. You like to study everyone's backgrounds, talents, experiences, attitudes, ages, educational levels, cultures. Perhaps then you feel prepared to set up the team to handle puzzling challenges. You're keenly aware of others' moods. Your insights can be valuable when you're helping someone develop strength or acquiring a skill, gaining knowledge, using your talents. So,
well, let me interject. What is funny is not only do you learn those things about people, but you remember them and they come back in conversation, or months later after you've had a conversation with somebody, you'll reference something that might have been not seem super valuable at the time, but to them it did mean something, and you recall that, and then you talk about it, and that's how you connect with people.
Yeah, I think I do retain a lot of that, and then when we're dealing with something later involving a person, or it's like, oh, well, that connects with that, like that's why they said that, or that's why they feel that way, or that's why they did that, because they're this kind of a, I don't label anybody, but I just like to understand how they work and how they're thinking, and so yeah, that was my number one. And my number two was strategic, which was also Jen's number two. So it says people especially talented in the strategic theme create alternative ways to proceed. Faced with any given scenario, they can quickly spot the relevant patterns and issues. So just as by nature, you're innovative, inventive, original, resourceful. I think for both of us, I think sitting in the executive office, you'd hope that you're strategic. I think both of us, that's sort of we're driving the strategy of the business. And so, it's just funny. I think when we both took, it's like, it's both of our number two strengths. Number three, which I share with Kim, was responsibility. So that one is it says that people that are exceptionally talented in responsibility take psychological ownership of what they say they will do and are committed to stable values such as honesty and loyalty.
I'm so jealous of that one. I want that one. I'm going to go back and try it again.
Try to get that one. I'm going to. Yeah. Which I think is funny. It feeds a little bit as I'm reading this. It feeds, I think, into my fourth one. It says, driven by your talents, you're open and honest about who you are, what you've done, what you can do, what you cannot do. You're straightforward, plain spoken. And I have often thought that I think very objectively and try to identify my own weaknesses. Like I'm very quick to be like, that is not a strength of mine, or I don't think that, but that's okay, or whatever. And my fourth one is self-assurance, which is you're confident in your ability to take risks, manage your life. You have an inner compass that gives you certainty in your decisions. And so I think that I am confident in myself and my skills and my abilities, and I'm very self-aware of myself in that way. So I think it feeds into, I'm very open and honest about it. I'm very self-aware. And so self-assurance was my fourth one. So that one, I'm just kind of reading here. You want to examine the facts so you can determine how one piece of information does or does not fit neatly with the next one. Chances are good that you may be an individual performer. You trust your ability to handle a certain degree of risk. I don't know. Just trying to read through. It says, because of your strengths, you sometimes take calculated risks. You may study the pros and cons of a situation or assess the consequences of an action. And it may allow you to increase your number of successes because of your thoughtful approach. So I'm not afraid to take risks.
No, and I would say that about you.
Yeah, I think right now, even just, I immediately, when I read that and I read the parts about risks, I thought of Kids First 2.
Yep, and all the things you're jumping into.
Yeah.
The unknown.
Yep, not afraid to ask or try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It was a mistake.
Fail. I don't think and you don't want to fail, but that's another part of what your strengths lead up to, is you're trying to assess the scenarios and the decisions that lead to that final decision, but you're not afraid of failure. You're afraid of not jumping in.
Yeah. I would be afraid of not knowing if that would have worked, if it would have, that unknown risk.
Right.
I'd rather take the risk, make a mistake,
Yep.
or have it be a success.
A great example of that is summer camp over at Kids First 2, where we knew that it may not go, but that conversation was really, we're more afraid of not doing it than doing it and having it fail.
Yeah.
And it looks to be that was a great move last year with a lot of momentum this year.
And then my number 5 is a developer. It says people that are exceptionally talented in the developer theme recognize and cultivate the potential of others. They spot the signs of each small improvement and derive satisfaction from evidence of progress. So interestingly, I also think that this one might pop up in some of our teachers. It says instinctively you may derive satisfaction from helping youngsters. I think that when I read that, I immediately took it to be with summer camp, working with our teens or our young staff members. That was like the favorite part of my job when I was running summer camp, was my staff, both the teens that were in like a leader in training program, but then also just the young people, and getting to know them and understand and help them grow and help them develop into whatever they were going to be after camp, or whether they were going to stay at Kids First or what was going to go. I think a developer is quite accurate for that. So
I think it's really interesting that you both are strategic and you both have empathy as your top 5. And the reason I think it's interesting is because I am very black and white, right? So when you think about some of the things that we've had to do with COVID, right? And what I think we should do, and almost immediately, you guys are thinking about how that communication, whether it's to employees or clients or whatever, are going to be felt and heard by them versus just the information, which is where I would go.
I agree.
I think that's really interesting.
I think, too, that's why the last year that you've been in that role, the health and safety officer role for COVID, I think that's why it worked with all of us, because it was really important that we made decisions that made sense for the business as far as the health and safety of the people that came into the building. But it was also very important for us to be empathetic to the way the information was relayed to the public or to our employees. So I felt like sometimes there was a disagreement, but there was always good conversation about it.
Agreed. And I think having different strengths on the executive team and throughout the entire leadership team is important because of that. You know, we can talk about an issue and we can all feel differently about it, and we can make the best decisions because of everybody's input that's coming from different places and have different strengths and different experiences and things like that. So.
Yeah. And I think that's where I get is it's not that we all just disagree, or when we have these disagreements, it's not this person versus this person. It's what about their line of thinking has made them think that way, or why did they? I think when we all get together, so in about a week and a half, we've done this exercise as a precursor to a meeting that we're going to have with all of our leaders, and just talking about our strengths and what makes us tick and how we all work together. And I think understanding everybody's strengths and where they're coming from, how they're thinking through those processes, will help you understand that when you're disagreeing, it's just a matter of learning and understanding, listening and understanding to their perspective, which is always what it should be. I mean, we know that, but I think it will highlight maybe for some people that don't see it that way, how we're all coming from different places towards the same common goal.
Right. And I think we all three are respectful of one another's knowledge, opinion, experiences, which make up those disagreements. And I don't think we ever get into a disagreement and have the sole goal of being right or changing the mind of another person. I think when this office disagrees, it is about first being able to express where we're coming from and then being able to understand, back to that empathy, but being able to understand where everyone else is coming from.
Yeah.
And
listening to understand rather than listening to respond.
That's exactly right.
And I talk about that with some of our department leaders.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, Megan, but one of the first things that Jeff, I think he said it to both of us, but I know he said it to me. And I think he said it again at that first breakfast when we were signing paperwork as we were entering into a business relationship with him. And he said that it was really important for us to not feel like we always had to agree with one another. That he felt there was a lot of value in our ability to come from different places on different things and being able to have an honest conversation that may end in disagreement. And we have done that periodically. We're both empathy and is on both of ours, so we both can understand when the other person is coming from a sincere place. But I think this whole thing is fascinating because it highlights everyone's strength. It doesn't highlight our weaknesses. That'd be a really great one to have too. But I think this is great because it highlights our strengths, but helps us to understand why we react or act the way that we do, engage with one another the way we do.
Well, that concludes this episode of the Small Business Bootcamp. For more information about registering for a bootcamp class, please visit metzgerbootcamp.com. And if this podcast was of value to you, please subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Music, or Google Podcast. As always, stay positive and keep moving forward.